Hello, and welcome to Last Week Beyond Earth. I'm Zach, and with me as always is David.
This week we'll be covering September 7th through the 13th. Of course, the big event was Polaris Dawn, so let's jump right into it.
Commercial mission Polaris Dawn launched at 5:23 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on September 10th. Liftoff was from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center and consisted of a crew of 4 aboard the Crew Dragon Resilience and a Falcon 9 rocket. The crew consists of Commander Jared Isaacman, pilot Scott Petit, and mission specialists Sarah Gillis and Anna Menon. Besides Isaacman, who is on his second flight, this is the first flight for the rest of the astronauts. The private mission reached an altitude of 870 miles or 1,400 kilometers, an altitude not reached since the days of Apollo. This flight is also the first time that there has been a commercial spacewalk. The spacewalk saw the entire capsule exposed to space and is the first time that 4 people have been exposed at one time. The EVA consisted of Isaacman going out the hatch and conducting a series of mobility tests before returning inside. Then Gillis went out and conducted the same series of tests before returning herself. The EVAs were recorded with a camera located on the opened nose cone, as well as through helmet cams to give viewers a view of what the astronauts were seeing.
A successful SOU's launch happened on September 11th. The SOU's MS-26 spacecraft took off at 12:23 p.m. EDT from Baikonur Cosmodrome, with Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexei Ovchinin and Ivan Wagner and NASA astronaut Don Pettit. The spacecraft docked to the Rassvet module on the International Space Station a little over 3 hours later. The SOU's crew officially became part of the station crew with an opening ceremony of the hatch at 5:58 p.m. They will stay aboard the space station for 6 months. This flight is the second for Wagner, the third for Ovchinin, and the fourth for Pettit. Pettit is also the oldest NASA astronaut on duty at the age of 69. With the addition of the SOU's crew, the number of people off-planet has risen to 19, tying the current world record. This number will drop to 15 when Polaris Dawn makes its scheduled landing.
The reduced crew of SpaceX Crew 9 has entered into quarantine at Johnson Space Center ahead of their mission to the International Space Station. NASA astronaut Nick Hague and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov were originally set to launch with fellow astronauts Zena Cardman and Stephanie Wilson. However, those last two were removed from this flight to give Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams a ride home from the International Space Station. Hague and Gorbanov will remain in quarantine until their launch, scheduled for September 25th. They will be launching from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Base and will be aboard Crew Dragon Freedom. They will be relieving Crew 8 for a 6-month rotation.
Elon Musk announced via X that SpaceX would be launching Starships to Mars within 2 years. That is when Earth and Mars will be best positioned in their orbits to accommodate travel between the two. According to the Post, if those initial tests and flights go well, then they will be sending crewed launches within 4 years. This is part of their plans to begin regular flights to set up a self-sustaining city on Mars within the next 20 years. Starship is currently undergoing test flights, the last of which completed many milestones. For example, it was able to complete soft landings of both Starship and the Super Heavy booster that launched it. SpaceX is also developing a version of Starship that will be used by NASA to land astronauts on the moon.
A team of NASA engineers were able to fix issues with the thrusters on the 47-year-old Voyager 1. These thrusters are what enable Voyager 1 to remain pointed towards the Earth, enabling communications with the distant spacecraft. These issues stemmed from the fuel lines becoming clogged. NASA was able to fix this issue by temporarily turning on heaters that had previously been turned off due to being deemed unessential. Voyager 1 was the first man-made object to leave the solar system, which it did in 2013. It was followed by its sibling, Voyager 2, in 2018.
NASA has selected 8 companies to provide Earth observation data and related services through small satellites. The awarded contracts are firm fixed price with a maximum value of $476 million amongst all awardees. The companies selected include Black Sky, IC, MDA, Pixel Space Technologies, Planet Labs, Satellogic, Teledyne, and the Tomorrow companies. An update on the Advanced Composite Solar Sail System, or ACS-3. Last week, we reported that observers had noticed that the craft was tumbling through its orbit. Well, it turns out that's exactly what was happening. The team had reported that the attitude controls had been turned off and they were expecting the craft to have some tumbling before they turned them back on. Japanese lunar exploration company iSpace has announced that their Tenacious micro rover, which will be used for their second attempt to land on the moon, has arrived in Japan. Hakuto R Mission 2 is set to launch no earlier than December 2024.
Boeing announced that they will be launching a satellite called Q4S in 2026. The satellite will demonstrate quantum networking in space. The technology would have applications in the commercial, civil, and military sectors. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, has awarded a $3.8 million contract to Spire Global, a company that provides space-based data and analytics. The contract will see the company provide radio occultation data for a period of 1 year. The data will be used for operational weather forecasts, space weather models, and climate research. NASA is looking into creating a coordinated lunar time, a concept similar to coordinated universal time used here on Earth. Having a standardized time on the moon will be vital for coordinated exploration. This will become even more important as more national and commercial organizations get involved on the lunar surface. All right, there's another interesting week of space news. David, anything jump out at you?
Yeah, I'm very pleased to hear that ACS-3 has, I guess, purposefully been tumbling and it wasn't a disaster. I'm glad to hear that things will be back on track and that they did expect the tumbling. And also, I think Elon Musk's ambitious goals to get to Mars within 20 years with a self-sustaining city, that's, I guess ambitious is the word I would use. It seems maybe like a real challenge, but I'm excited to see how close to that mark we can get. What about you?
Yeah, the Mars thing, that is quite ambitious. I'm going to guess it's over ambitious. Probably going to be a bit longer than that, but I mean, people going to Mars will be exciting regardless of when it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Besides that, Polaris Dawn, quite a big moment in history. That first commercial spacewalk, it's kind of opening up. It's no longer the national astronauts. It's now something that regular people can do. And I think that's opening up, kind of going back to the Mars thing. Those are all going to be not national agency astronauts. They're going to be technically private astronauts. So, having that capability and having new spacesuits that are able to survive the environment of space, that's going to be important for them. They even talked about during the live stream how the spacesuits are, one of the requirements is they need to be made quickly, are mass producible, because they foresee needing thousands of them. So I think that's quite interesting. Besides that, the video of the spacewalk itself was amazing to watch. I actually was kind of getting tingles watching them pop out and do their stuff, and yeah, it was great. So, and of course, we want to hear from you, our viewers. Let us know in the comments below, what stories jumped out at you, or if we missed anything.
And as always, check back next week for more Beyond Earth news.
Thanks for watching.